The dishwasher was still running when she said it. Not that it mattered, but I remember the noise. Low, rhythmic, like fake applause for what was about to happen. "I'm going on a date tomorrow," she said, digging through the mail with her back to me. "Don't be jealous." She didn't even pause. Just kept flipping envelopes like she hadn't just lobbed a grenade into the middle of the kitchen. I stood by the counter holding a chipped mug, filled with tea I didn't want anymore. The lemon slice floated like a dead fish. I didn't say anything at first. I think my brain tried to buffer the sentence. You know when a video freezes right before something horrible happens? That's what my head did. Rewinding. Replaying. Still wrong every time. "Don't be jealous," she'd said. Like I was supposed to find it cute. Like this was her quirky little power move before a yoga class. The worst part? I wasn't even surprised. The signs weren't signs anymore. They were full-blown headlines. Hidden receipts. Dry clean dresses. Sudden gym trips when we'd barely left the couch for a year. She finally turned around. No guilt. No awkwardness. Just her, holding a Bed Bath & Beyond coupon and looking at me like I was the one who should say something. So I did. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't flinch. "Are you wearing the necklace I gave you?" Her hand went straight to her collarbone. That told me everything. She wasn't expecting a question. She was expecting a fight. Maybe tears. Maybe a passive-aggressive jab about loyalty or vows. But I just wanted to see if she still wore something I picked out. Something I chose. Something she used to say made her feel seen. And the fact that she was wearing it? That she wore it while planning to sit across from another man in dim lighting, pretending she was free? That broke me in a very specific, very quiet way. The dishwasher beeped. She walked past me, said nothing. And later that night, when she was asleep beside me, I drafted the first email. Not to her. To a stranger. A stranger who had no idea the woman he was about to meet for drinks was still married, and sleeping in a bed warmed by someone she no longer even noticed. I never planned to hit send. The email sat in my drafts for 3 hours. It read, "You don't know me, but I know who you're meeting tomorrow night. I thought you deserved to know she's married." No threats. No bitterness. Just a fact. A warning. Like the label on a cigarette pack. I had no idea who he was. No name. No face. Just a string of clues I'd pieced together over time. The cafe she never used to visit. The second phone charger she suddenly needed. The Uber receipts for places I'd never been invited to. And once, only once, I saw a name pop up briefly on her screen. Simon. Not even saved with an emoji. Just Simon. So I searched. I filtered through social media profiles, narrowed down by the cafe location and mutuals. It was disturbingly easy. A guy with too many button-down shirts and gym selfies. Bio, investor, traveler, dog dad. It was him. It had to be. I hovered over the send button. My finger actually trembled. And I'm not someone who trembles. I overthink, yes. I spiral. But I don't shake. I kept asking myself, what am I hoping for? That he'll cancel the date? That she'll get dumped by her backup plan and come running back to me? No. I just wanted the mask to fall. I wanted someone, anyone, to see the real version of her. The one I'd been living with. The one who said, "Don't be jealous," while taking off her ring in the laundry room. I didn't send the email. I deleted it. Every word. Instead, I sat on the floor in the hallway like a forgotten suitcase and listened to her hum while she packed an overnight bag. She packed perfume. I hadn't smelled it in months. I didn't ask where she was going. She didn't offer it. We played that horrible domestic game where silence was safer than the truth. But here's where it got strange. Around 1:12 a.m., I got up for water. I walked past her purse. I wasn't even snooping, I swear. But I saw it. A folded napkin from that cafe. With a message written in red ink. "You're not like him. Can't wait to talk more. S." I stood there gripping the napkin like it was radioactive. "You're not like him." Who was him? Me? Why write that? Why keep it? I put the napkin back exactly the way it was. Didn't confront her. But that line kept echoing. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just cheating. It was narrative control. She'd already rewritten our marriage in her head. Turned me into some villain, some obstacle in her journey of self-discovery. But villains don't fold laundry. Villains don't cry into bath towels when no one's watching. I wasn't jealous anymore. I was invisible. And being invisible is exactly what gave me the power to do what I did next. She told me she was staying at her sister's for the weekend. Said they needed girl time. No phones. No husbands. Just wine and old movies and reclaiming our identities. Her voice sounded rehearsed when she said it. I didn't even ask which sister. She has two. Neither of them likes me. I nodded, like a good husband would. Said, sounds nice. Even though my stomach had already dropped like I'd missed a stare in the dark. I watched her roll her overnight bag down the hall, boots clicking like a countdown clock. She didn't hug me goodbye. Later that night, I sat alone in the living room with a bowl of popcorn I didn't want, watching a documentary I couldn't follow. I muted it halfway through. The house was too quiet, but somehow my mind was louder. I opened my laptop. Not to snoop. At least, that's what I told myself. She'd left her browser logged in. Not on purpose. She's just careless when she's comfortable. I shouldn't have looked. I know. I absolutely shouldn't have looked. But I did. An open tab. A reservation confirmation. A rental cabin 2 hours away. Not with her sister. Not even close. It wasn't just a cozy cottage. It was the kind of place couples go to feel like the world doesn't exist. The listing even said it. Perfect for romantic getaways. Discreet and peaceful. Her name was on the booking. His wasn't. But the payment came from an account I didn't recognize. There was also a photo attached, automatically uploaded from her phone, probably by mistake. It wasn't scandalous. Just 2 wine glasses on a wood table. And a man's wrist. His watch. His hand, resting near hers. Not touching, but close enough to humiliate me. I zoomed in like a forensic analyst. The watch was expensive. Not mine. The ring finger was bare. I stared at that hand longer than I'd stared at my own reflection in weeks. Something broke open in my chest. I wasn't angry, not yet. I was impressed. Genuinely stunned at the precision of her deception. The softness of the lies. The casualness of it all. I realized I'd been losing her long before this. It wasn't one moment. It was a million little ones. The cold dinners. The untired excuses. The new perfumes she never wore for me. The books about finding yourself she left dog-eared and highlighted. She wasn't cheating because she wanted someone else. She was cheating because I'd become no one to her. But maybe she'd made one mistake. Because now, I knew where they'd be. And this time, I wasn't going to stay invisible. I just had to decide what version of myself would show up at that cabin door. The next morning, I packed like I was going on a trip I hadn't told anyone about. Because I wasn't. I told myself I needed to clear my head, as if that hadn't become my full-time job lately. I left the house around 6 a.m., coffee untouched in the cup holder, GPS lit up like I was heading into some kind of war zone. 2 hours north. Not a word to her. Not a word to anyone. I had no plan. I wasn't going to barge in. I wasn't going to yell or cry or plead. I just needed to see it. Needed to know it was real. My brain wouldn't let me accept it otherwise. The road to the cabin twisted through pine-covered hills, the kind of place you'd picture on a greeting card with words like retreat, reset, or renew on the front. I couldn't make this stuff up if I tried. Her car was there, parked off to the side like a secret. I stopped at the end of the gravel path, engine running, hands clenched on the steering wheel like I was holding back something dangerous inside myself. My breath fogged the windshield. My pulse felt too calm. I should have been shaking, but I wasn't. That scared me more than anything. The cabin itself looked like something from a magazine. Wooden porch, 2 rocking chairs, tall windows with curtains that didn't quite close all the way. I stared at those windows like they might blink. I didn't go up to the door. I parked across the road, behind a thicket of trees, and waited. I watched the shadows shift inside. 2 people moved past the window a few times, but never together. Once, I saw her silhouette. She looked relaxed, at peace. She laughed at something, threw her head back like she hadn't done in years. Not with me, anyway. It felt like watching a stranger wear her skin. I took out my phone, took a single photo. The cabin, the car, the timestamp. I didn't know why yet. Insurance? Revenge? Evidence for a confrontation I wasn't ready to have. That's when something strange happened. Around noon, I saw them step outside together. She was in his jacket. He was carrying a paper bag. They kissed once. Soft. Familiar. Like it wasn't new. Then they walked to her car and drove off. Not in his car. In hers. I stayed frozen in my seat, thinking through every possible meaning of that. Why his name wasn't on the reservation. Why she used our joint credit card for the deposit. Why she'd chosen a place with no cell service. And then it hit me. He wasn't cheating with her. She was hiding him. This wasn't a fling. It was a life she'd already started building without me. And she wasn't done hiding the blueprints. That was the moment my heart didn't break. It disintegrated. Because affairs are messy, spontaneous, regretful. But this was organized, strategic, and somewhere deep down, I realized I was the only one who still thought we were married. I didn't follow them. I didn't go home. I just sat there, car idling, with the photo on my phone and a question ringing in my head like a fire alarm with no exit map. If she's already gone, what exactly am I still holding on to? She said she'd be back by Sunday evening. She wasn't. I didn't text. I didn't call. I didn't even pretend to care. I cleaned the kitchen instead. Thoroughly. Like I was trying to erase something invisible. I wiped every surface, scrubbed the sink, even reorganized the spice rack she never used. Not because it needed cleaning, but because I needed the illusion of control. Something to move. Something to fix. At 9:48 p.m., I got a message. Not from her. From her sister. Hey, just checking in. How's Celia? Didn't make it to the cabin with me this weekend. Everything okay? I stared at the screen for a full minute. Not moving. Not blinking. She hadn't even bothered to tell her sister about the lie. It wasn't a cover story. It was a convenience. I didn't respond. Instead, I did something I hadn't done in years. I opened the fireproof box in our closet, the one labeled tax docs/emergency stuff. Inside was the folder we got when we closed on the house. The warranty papers. Her passport copy. A spare key I thought we'd lost. And the marriage license. I held it in both hands like it was a photo of someone who'd already died. The signatures were still bold. The notary stamp crisp. Our two names, printed in black ink under the word United. I remember thinking how permanent it felt when we signed it. How foolish that seems now. I sat down with the license, the photo I took of the cabin, and the napkin I'd secretly taken from her purse when she was asleep 2 weeks ago, the one with his handwriting on it. I lined them up like puzzle pieces. And then, without rage or ceremony, I opened my laptop and started making copies. Digital folder. New password. Hidden archive. Every file labeled with dates, locations, and soft words she'd never imagine I'd remember. Like the time she claimed she was late because her tire blew out, but there was no charge on the joint credit card for repairs. Like the weekend she visited her aunt in Vermont, but her aunt posted Facebook pictures from Florida that same day. I wasn't building a revenge file. I was building a truth file. Because the truth is what's left when the love is gone and the lies stop working. And something inside me had finally snapped. Not in the loud, cinematic way you'd expect. No yelling. No breaking plates. Just silence. Calm. Determination. The kind of calm that comes when you know you're about to walk away from a burning building and never look back. And yet, part of me still waited for her. As if some version of her might come through the door, drop her bag, and say, I made a mistake. That didn't happen. Instead, at 2:13 a.m., I heard her keys at the door. Quiet, careful, like she didn't want to wake me. She didn't know I was already wide awake, sitting in the dark, holding the napkin. She walked in, smelled like pine and someone else's cologne, and whispered to herself as she set her bag down. I didn't speak. I didn't turn on the light. But she knew. She felt it. The weight in the air had changed. And just before she reached the hallway, I said one sentence. My voice was flat. My tone wasn't angry. Just tired. You're going to want to sit down. She froze. It was the first time in months I saw her afraid. And somehow, that didn't feel good at all. It just made me sad that it had taken this much to finally be noticed. She didn't move for a long time after I said it. Just stood there, half in the hallway, half in the shadow of the living room, holding her keys like they were some kind of shield. The bag was still on her shoulder. Her coat unzipped. I wondered if she even remembered how to be in this house anymore. If she still knew where her things were, or if everything now felt like a stranger's home. I didn't tell her to sit. I just waited. Eventually, she stepped inside and lowered herself onto the farthest corner of the couch like it might bite. She didn't take off her coat. Her eyes darted around like she wasn't sure what version of me she was about to meet. The passive one, the fragile one, the one who cried when she forgot their anniversary. I didn't look at her right away. Instead, I placed the folded napkin on the coffee table between us. Then the printed reservation for the cabin. Then the time-stamped photo. 3 quiet artifacts. Nothing more. She stared at them. At first, blankly. Then with something closer to recognition. Her lips parted slightly like she wanted to say something. Explain, maybe, but she didn't. Not yet. I don't need a confession, I said finally. You're not on trial. I'm not a jury. I'm not even angry anymore. I'm done pretending I don't know. Still, she said nothing. The silence stretched too long. So I kept going. I know about Simon. I know about the cabin. I know you never saw your sister this weekend. I know you haven't loved me in a long time, and honestly, I'm not even sure if I still love you, or if I just missed the version of you that used to look me in the eyes. That one landed. Her expression flickered. Just a second, but it was there, like someone tugged a curtain and caught a glimpse of the wreckage behind it. I didn't come here to fight you, I said. I came to end the part of my life where I'm invisible. She opened her mouth, but I raised one hand, just enough to pause her. Let me finish. I stood, crossed to the other side of the room, and opened a folder I'd left on the dining table. Inside were the divorce papers, and signed. Not filed, just real, tangible. I placed them on the table next to her napkin and the photo. I want you to take the night, I said. Not to explain anything. I don't want a story. I want a decision. That finally broke her. She stood up abruptly, the bag falling from her shoulder with a dull thud. This isn't what you think, she began, but I shook my head. No, it's exactly what I think. The only thing left for you to decide is whether you want to keep building a life on this version of yourself, or walk away before the lies get heavier than you can carry. Her breathing changed. Sharper. Unsteady. I'd never seen her cry for me. Not even when we fought. But now I saw the gleam in her eyes. Not from love or regret, but from being caught off guard by someone she never thought would stop begging for her affection. You've been living two lives, I said. That's fine. People get lost. But only one of those lives fits in this house. Then I turned and left the room. Not dramatically. Not with finality. Just enough. Enough for her to understand that I wasn't going to chase her anymore. She stayed on that couch until almost dawn. I know, because I didn't sleep. I just listened from the next room as she sobbed once, softly, like a ghost. And around 5 a.m., I heard the front door open, then close. No suitcase. No slam. Just quiet footsteps. And a silence that didn't feel like peace. I didn't check if she took the papers with her. But somehow, I already knew she did. When I woke up, it was already light out. I hadn't actually fallen asleep, just drifted into some sort of mental static where time didn't move, and neither did I. The couch was cold. The hallway was quiet. The door was locked from the inside. She was gone. At first, I felt nothing. Just the strange echo of stillness. No humming from the bathroom. No sound of her coffee mug clinking on the countertop. No scent of that ridiculous essential oil she always claimed helped her stay grounded. Just air. Empty and heavy. I walked into the kitchen and saw that the papers were gone. All of them. Napkin. Photo. Divorce file. Everything I'd laid out like artifacts in a quiet trial. She'd taken it all with her. Not a word. Not a note. Not even a text. I should have felt victorious. Like I'd taken control of my story. Ended the slow death of a marriage that had been rotting from the inside for years. But instead, I felt like I was haunting my own house. Every drawer I opened reminded me of her. Every mirror reflected the version of me I'd become. Hollow-eyed, nervous, too gentle to leave, and too broken to stay. I sat at the dining table for what felt like hours, not eating, not moving, just staring. You always imagine that walking away from a toxic relationship will feel like breathing again. But it doesn't. It feels like drowning quietly, knowing no one's coming. By the third day, I hadn't heard from her. Not even a "we need to talk." It was like she'd vanished into the new life she'd been rehearsing behind my back. I should have blocked her. Should have deleted her number. But I didn't. I kept checking my phone like an idiot, as if closure was a thing she was capable of giving me. That Wednesday, I got a knock at the door. My chest locked up. I thought maybe it was her. Maybe she'd come back to say something. Anything. But it wasn't her. It was a delivery. A padded envelope. No return address. Inside was my copy of our wedding photo, the one that had hung in the hallway for years. She'd written nothing on it. No message. Just folded it once, gently, like she thought I'd want it back. That photo hit me harder than anything she'd ever said. Because returning it meant she wasn't confused. She wasn't having a crisis. She was done. She'd removed the symbol of us from her life, like someone scraping old wallpaper off a kitchen wall. And that's when I realized something I hadn't admitted even during the confrontation. She wasn't going to apologize. Not for the lies. Not for Simon. Not for using our house as a stage while she rehearsed another act with someone else waiting in the wings. There wasn't going to be a twist ending where she broke down crying in the rain, begging me for another chance. This wasn't a movie. This was the credits rolling on a story I didn't realize had already ended. But then, 2 days later, I heard from her. Not a call, not a knock, an email. Subject line: "You don't know everything." I stared at it for a long time, because after all of this, part of me still wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, I'd misunderstood something. That I was the problem. That she had some explanation I hadn't allowed her to give. But when I opened it, what she wrote changed everything I thought I knew. And not in the way I ever expected. I stared at the email for nearly an hour before opening it. Just the subject line, "You don't know everything," was enough to make my heart slam against my ribs like it wanted out. I wasn't sure if I wanted to be proven right or wrong. When I finally clicked, the body of the message was short. No apologies. No poetic explanation. No last-ditch confession of undying love. Just this: "You were never the villain." But I needed to feel like I wasn't one either. I told myself stories to make it easier to leave. I told him things that weren't true about you. I lied to both of you because I couldn't face the part of me that was already gone. I know I hurt you more by pretending it didn't matter. It did. And I'm sorry. But not for choosing something else. I'm sorry for the way I did it. I sent the papers to my lawyer. You should be free to start over. And you deserve to be seen again. Not by me, but by someone who never stops. I didn't cry. Not because it didn't hurt. It did. More than I could put into words. But for the first time since this whole mess began, I felt relief. It wasn't closure in the clean, ribbon-tied way, but it was something better. It was the truth, finally spoken without manipulation, without gaslighting, without games. She wasn't coming back. And I didn't want her to. Not anymore. A few days later, I packed a small suitcase and left the house for a while. I took a trip to the coast. Just me, a journal, and a room with a view of the waves. And I started writing again. Not about her. Not about the pain. But about who I used to be before I forgot myself in her shadow. I started cooking again. Not meals for two. Just messy, clumsy dinners for one. I burned a few. I laughed at myself. It felt good. I called my sister. Told her everything. We hadn't talked in months, and we stayed on the phone for 4 hours like kids after curfew. I started going on walks every morning. Same route. Same bench. I'd bring coffee and sit in the park. No phone, no noise. Just the wind, the birds, and the occasional stranger walking their dog. And one morning, I'll never forget it, a woman in a green raincoat sat on the bench beside me. She didn't say much at first, just sipped her coffee and smiled. We didn't talk about pasts. We talked about books, about cinnamon rolls, about how rainy mornings made everything smell like childhood. Her name was Margot, not the kind of name that shows up in stories like this. But maybe that's the point. Some stories end quietly, without fireworks, without vengeance, without applause, just a slow return to yourself. And sometimes, if you're lucky, someone new finds you there. Not to rescue you, not to fix you, but to sit beside you, while you finally remember how to feel alive again.